Hi guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to bring a subject about Arnold Schwarzenegger and drug testing. So I think he's right about drug testing, and so he's done so last year in South Africa in 2019. He was basically calling out the modern bodybuilding word and saying that that was body destruction and not bodybuilding anymore. And so he's been criticized a lot for that, and I don't think he should be criticized, and I will tell you why. So people are basically saying that he's been building his bodybuilding career on steroids, basically, because we all know he used them, and if he didn't take them, he wouldn't have been, the mass monster he was. And so he can't really talk about this. He's not basically allowed to talk about, people using steroids if he's been using steroids and built fame upon it. But I think today it's totally different because back then he had the chance to build his career uh, in bodybuilding because that wasn't really famous yet. So people were amazed at seeing these incredible, massive bodies. That was so new. He was one of the first, big man in the world, and so that was definitely something you could build upon. Whether today there's so many mass monsters. It's not like you see them in the streets, all the time. But if you go to an expo, then you're gonna see a lot of them, and it's not comparable to back in the days where there wasn't many men like that. There were like 20, 30 guys like this in the world. And so that brings me to say that Arnold Schwarzenegger did it at a time where it was um, a smart way to do it. Even though I'm not for the drugs, I think it was a pretty smart move to do it at this time. So that's the first opinion. The second opinion is I think they weren't taking as much drugs as they are today in the bodybuilding competitive world. So Arnold was apparently is known for having abused the anabol, but probably not as much as today. As in, they were literally stopping the drugs as soon as they competed, or at least Arnold wasn't on like all year round. So that wasn't the same mentality. Whether today, I think, with social media and everything, you kind of like to stay in shape all year round, and you've got that pressure. And so that brings me to the second point, where I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is basically thinking that today this is not just steroid use, but like this is steroid abuse. So that's quite logical when I think Arnold sees, these guys literally entering the gym and they've only been gymming for like 1 or 2 years and they're already on the gear. Like there is obviously something wrong, and that's not really something you would see back in the days. So that's another point why I think he's right about calling this out, because he's got a massive audience listening to him, and so he's just basically pointing that things are getting a bit out of control, and that wasn't the same before. Before that was a bit more low key, and social media has definitely been bringing a lot of visibility to the drugs because as well they target young people. Social media is used by young people, so it's totally different than before. So that's what he's basically calling out. Bodybuilding has definitely changed, and the modern bodybuilding as well is just a lot about the mass monsters nowadays. And so you see these guys absolutely huge, and a lot of them, like if you look at the newspaper, are passing away like very frequently. So I think that's one of the other things why Arnold Schwarzenegger is like not passing out. Why Arnold Schwarzenegger is talking about this and calling out um, these issues and talking about drug testing. So he hasn't really spoken again about drug testing since last year. Um, I don't know if it's because he gets called out on it too much, but I don't think that would be Arnold's type to really care about that. But what I've seen him do though is call out the bodybuilders, modern bodybuilders, on their bubble gut. He does this a lot, so he's trying to say it in a subtle way, I guess. Um, But yeah, so that's really, in my opinion, why him talking about drug testing, even though he's used steroids in the past, is legitimate. So let me know what you think in the comments. That was my opinion. What's yours? And yeah, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you liked that video.